How's it going, everybody? Jonathan with Rebel Against the Indoors here, and well, I've been trapped. The weather has been unfriendly to being outside, and that's unfortunate. But sometimes you gotta know when to call it. Safety and knowing how to be able to enjoy yourself out there is also important. I mean, I'm looking at -11 right now on the desktop with a low of -33 in a couple of days here. So, for the time being, I figured I would help each and every one of you, all you like-minded individuals. Even though you're trapped indoors, your mind is still outdoors. So, what I wanted to talk to you each about is my staples in my tackle box. Now, granted, I want to let just everybody know my tackle box is comprehensive, but there are a handful of lures that I use and I always start with when I'm trying to gauge what the fish are doing, or unfortunately, fishing memories does have its merits. So with that, I'll show you some of my staples, help each and every one of you looking to come visit the Helena, Montana area, looking to fish any of our reservoirs, lakes. We have Canyon Ferry, Hauser, Holter. Holter is known for its perch. We have Lake Helena. Georgetown's kind of close. It's about an hour and a half drive. The Holding Reservoir is another local one that has some kokanee, and every now and then a pretty decent perch comes out of there. And so what I'm going to be showing you is primarily targeting walleye, which is my number one fish to go for, kokanee, and in that category, kokanee and trout, and perch. On occasion, I will get a wayward burbot. Never turn those down. In fact, I'm quite happy to have those. It's always a good eat. But priority-wise, walleye, kokanee, trout, perch. Generally speaking, depending on which water I'm on. So to start with, we have the good old Haley. That's my number one color, followed by my number two color. And on any given day, that pink and blue can be quite the deadly combination. Now, the one thing I really like to do with these Haleys, they come with a really, really fine single point hook, which is great, and especially when you're in a school of small fish, or small-mouthed fish, I should say, those work awesome. Now, granted, the wire is very fine. They bend out, so you gotta watch it. So what I instead do, especially when it comes to kokanee, is switch out my chain, get a little closer if I can for you, with a treble. And I really like using those fine size trebles. We're talking 14, 16 even. If I'm going for kokanee, the kokanee seem to hook up better on a 16. On top of the fact, when you switch to a smaller treble, yes, you generally have more hooks you have to contend with, but being they're so small, they pop out relatively easy, especially with a good pair of forceps or pliers. So if you're really targeting kokanee in particular, those have been my best two. Anything with a wider blue scheme could be good as well, but I've caught most of my kokanee on that color. I've also done quite well for perch on those colors as well. Now, when I'm looking more towards those walleyes, I'm usually starting with one of these two. If I can get it to cooperate. A nice perch UV buckshot from Northland. Or a gold shiner from Northland. Again, another buckshot. When it comes to the waters I like to fish, the noise aspect seems to really help. Those fish, particularly in Lake Helena, really seem to lock into an area and they don't like to move very much. Not that I blame them. Shallow water, generally they're pretty comfortable. There's a decent amount of food under the ice this time of year. So I do whatever I can to get their attraction, attention, anything over. And one of those aspects is noise. Hence the reason I tend to favor the buckshots and bring them in initially. And I've had multiple times where that noise brings them in. They get curious. They really chase it, but they don't bite it. And that's when I'll really start to look at other options. One of those options, if I can find it here. Oh, come on, get undone. Is Tungsten Castmaster. Nice small little profile. Oh, I always switch those hooks, both on the buckshots and the Castmasters, to a smaller size. Particularly around here, unfortunately, our fish don't get that big compared to other places. Hence the reason you'll see us get maybe a bit too excited about a 16 to 18 inch walleye. Not to say that there aren't big ones in there. I've seen them. I look at the survey data that Montana FWB puts out, and there's some monsters in there. Not many of them, but there are some giants. Not enough to really spend a day chasing, because you'll probably be spending a season chasing. Instead, I'd rather get the quantity with the occasional quality. Hence the reason I switched to smaller tackle. Cover both walleye and perch. And the buckshots and that Rattlemaster or Castmaster do a really good job. Now what you'll see when you switch from a buckshot to a Rattlemaster or Castmaster brethren is that Castmaster has that really nice profile where it wants to kick. You can see, maybe, there it goes, how it wants to slant. And as that dives, it flutters, kicks, gets a little bit harder rattle action in that chamber. And there have been multiple times where a buckshot won't finish them, the Rattlemaster will. As far as dead sticks go, which any chance I get, I always have a dead stick. Particularly on Lake Helena being a big mud flat that it is, the causeway, aka Hauser. I set out at least 2 or 3 dead sticks when available. Now if I'm targeting trout, we'll grab my card here. Oh, come on, focus in. There you go. Just a nice hair jig. This is a hand-tied hair jig that we carry at Capital Sports. They are killer. And black for trout has been the #1 pattern. Leech patterns, minnow patterns. Black with the green, black with the orange. Generally going to be your 2 best. The only other color I'd recommend is a olive and yellow. Now when I'm focusing in more on the perch and the walleyes, I really like to run eyeballs. In this case, this is a perch eyeball with a Fire Tiger back. Again, swapped out that hook for a smaller sized hook from the standard. And particularly predator fish really key in on eyeballs. That's a bluegill eyeball. That's an 1/8 ounce with a silver back. And they'll key in on it, and to help entice them to buy, I usually put 2 pink maggots or a pink and a white generally. And get that scent drift in the water, give them a little food source. And oftentimes, especially as they get more aggressive throughout the season, that those are what finishes them for me. And that's what I tend to switch to as the season goes on. The other thing, back into the realm of trout, and this is relatively new from Northland. Flat Fry Fly. Good luck saying that 3 times fast. However, they look lethal. Real good luck. I haven't had the chance to hook up on a fish yet, but they are certainly a staple. I use the hair jigs, like I said, and that's just another variety. I tend to favor those more for the perch, but a greedy trout's going to hit those all the same. Now, probably the king, I would say, if it's not that pink and blue Haley or the pink and white Haley, is that. A nice black gold W2 jigging Rat. That has been my king all last season. I've been tinkering with it again this season. Black gold for our area really, really works. The only thing I can imagine with that, and there's some data that suggests that for our area, is that it's walleyes eating walleyes. As forage becomes a little more limited, they start to cannibalize. So keying in on that aspect, I try to mimic it with a black gold, and it has done very well for me. Now, if black gold's not doing it, or I'm not catching as many as I think I should, I'll give her a nice little switch up, and that's really bright in that lens, to a nice orange tiger UV, especially on a darker day when the water, there's not near as much light going through the ice. And I've done quite well, especially on Canyon Ferry with that color. If it's the black gold's not doing it, orange tiger generally does. And if neither of those doing it, then I'm starting to dig. And every fisherman I think can relate. So with that, those are my staples I wanted to share with each and every one of you. As I work my job over at Capital, I get many questions from anybody local that's just getting into it, people visiting, or somebody looking to change up their game a little bit, add to their tackle box, what have you. So hopefully for each and every one of you tuning in, that gives you a different way to approach things or a different lure to look for. And for the lure box collectors, you might not have one of these yet. Now with that, there have been some new additions that I'm quite excited for. A couple I've already had the luxury to try, a couple I have not. That's just with the territory. 2 of the lures I'm going to show you are for big game, your pike, your lake trout. We have to travel quite a bit to get to those areas that have those fish. But I have them regardless because I'm going to make that my goal this year and next year in particular to chase those fish. So the first one I want to show you, it was pretty well everywhere. Jigging Rat Magnum. This is 1.5 ounces. And everyone think it measures in at 2 inches. Yeah, that sucker is heavy. Now for lake trout in particular, this is going to soar down to depths. I mean, just fly. And I've tinkered with a little bit on happenstance as I've been bored sitting at the hole. Yeah, if you need to hit 80 feet, you're going to be there lickety-split. Now the big component to this that I didn't realize until I started tinkering, that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. I'll see if I can show it here for you. That bottom hook really likes to spin. It really doesn't want to focus in. There we go. Really likes to spin, and that's because they have a built-in swivel on the bottom there. Now as those fish and pike like to do a crocodile roll, lake trout are pretty lively, that's going to help a lot. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it was a great addition. When you have that big a body, why wouldn't you do something like that? And I think it's only going to help each and everybody get through the ice, give you that maybe that one more extra chance after a good run, give you some leeway, keep them twist out of your line. A lot of benefits. So I'm really excited for that feature and that lure. The other lure that I'm really excited to try from Daiwa. Yes, Daiwa makes jigs. I run their rods, I run their reels, love them. Then I got to snooping and realized they made lures. Now granted, it is a saltwater lure, so it is kind of weird for us to be using this far inland. However, it's got a really nice bright flash to it. It's not a rattle bait, but sometimes the fish don't want rattle. They don't want a whole lot of noise. They like a good subtle approach. And that's exactly what that's for. Nice chunk of sucker, minnow head, what have you. I'll always have that on a dead stick next to me, next to a rattle bait, and adjust accordingly as they come in. So those are my big game baits that I'm ecstatic to try. It's been gnawing away at my soul, I swear. And I'll report back to you guys here, hopefully in the next few weeks, on how that all goes, hopefully with some good results. Now, a couple baits I've had the luxury to try with what seems to be and is looking good for us are, well, starting off with, come on, focusing. There you go. Tantrum. If you haven't seen my other video already, out on the ice, our first trip out, I make mention that I've been avoiding the tantrums. And I was a fool. I will admit it. They are amazing. That's what I ran all day in that video. Caught several fish on it. It does a very good job. Again, same concept as those buckshot spoons. When those fish get locked into place, if you want to bring in, have them look at it at the very least. Noise. And the tantrums do that well. They have a good action. That 1.3 inch size really does well for the perch. And the walleye can't seem to stay off of it around here. Again, I have it in the black gold. I have a couple other colors, but you can best be sure I'm going to start with that gold miner, which is a black gold pattern, just because that color has been by far my best color. The other one that I want to share with you that I've had some very good preliminary results with. This is a tiny sucker. This is a size 14 hook. And as you can see, it looks like caviar, and that's exactly what it is. It's Clams Caviar Tungsten Egg Drop. Long name, effective, quick results. Now, what I like to do to make these even more effective, I'm sure many of you are familiar with that, I like to add and thread one of those on. And what I'm trying to mimic is either something emerging from that caviar or egg sac or something feeding on it. Regardless, it's helpless. It's a easy meal for fish. And if they can get their eyes on it, I suspect it's not long before they get their mouth on it. And for those that haven't seen it, again, that caviar egg drop caught me a absolute toad of a perch. So go check it out. So far, it was a great way to kick off the season. It's going to be hard to upgrade that fish for us. With that, there's one last item I want to show you, and one I recommend those that are doing some weight chasing as I am. I'm looking to beat some records, especially those state records, and to help keep track of that, nice, simple 50-pound Rapala scale. I always like to run the jaw clamp. I find it to be a less intrusive, and I have also found them to be incredibly accurate. Needless to say, I am already in the record books. Not to brag, because it was a sucker fish, but it is there. So for those interested, if you go to the FWP website, you can look up the record tables, look up long nose sucker, and that's where I'll be. Now, when we measured that sucker, it was 0.01 pounds of a certified scale. Very accurate scale. It's what led me to go ahead, take it to a certified scale, and pursue putting it in the record book. And I'm very glad I did so. And that was my best friends that we used. Needless to say, soon after, I picked one up for myself. So with that, hopefully I gave you guys some good insights, gave you guys some good starting off points, maybe some places to fill some holes in some tackle boxes. Maybe you guys are like me and you're chomping at the bit, stuck in the cold weather, and you know, organizing the tackle box is always good. Makes it a little faster to tie on, drop down, hook up. So with that, if you guys could like, subscribe, and share, it does help a lot. I admittedly made fun of YouTube and content creators for it. Now that I'm looking to be one, yeah, it makes a difference, and each and every one of you that helps makes a profound change in how things run here. And we celebrate every like, every comment, every share. So please, please, please help me out. I'm trying to make work and play the one and the same, and bring you guys the best content I can to help all of you in any way I can. So please like, subscribe, share on the YouTube channel. We also have an Instagram and a TikTok going as well. If you could head over there, give us a follow, we certainly appreciate it. Until then, I'll keep grabbing some footage for you, share every bit of knowledge I can. We have some podcasts coming in the up here relatively soon, so stay tuned. please just keep rebelling against the indoors. If not physically, at least mentally. Thanks, guys.